What if there was a way to make your tabletop RPG campaigns like seriously immersive and unforgettable? Not just about fancy storylines or crazy detailed worlds. What if it's really about your players? I had this amazing session recently, and it got me thinking about all this. We were on this quest, pretty standard, to retrieve stolen artifact. But then one of the players, totally out of the blue, revealed that their character actually had a personal connection to the thief, like a shared history we had no idea about. And it like totally changed the whole narrative. We weren't just grabbing some object anymore. It became about redemption and forgiveness, like confronting the consequences of past choices. It was so emotionally charged. Definitely one of the most memorable sessions ever. This whole thing led me to this article on LitRPG Reads. It's called How to Use Thought-Provoking Questions to Improve Your Dungeons & Dragons Campaign. It's by Amir Barakat, who also goes by Bardic Lore. And to help us really dig into this idea of player-driven campaigns, I've invited an expert in all things tabletop RPGs.
I was immediately drawn to this article. The way it focuses on understanding player motivations really grabbed me. It's not just about being a DM and telling a cool story, it's about figuring out what each player actually wants and enjoys. Some players are all about the combat. They love the strategy and the big battles. Others are more into character interactions, role-playing those complex relationships and personalities. And then there are those who love exploring the world, uncovering lore and solving mysteries. When you recognize these individual preferences, that's when you can really create a campaign that everyone loves.
The article suggests a question. Seems so basic, but it's powerful. What excites you most about D&D?
That one question can tell you so much. It's like you're getting a glimpse into their gaming soul. When the DM knows this, they can tailor the campaign to make sure everyone's interests are there. Maybe the combat lover leads the charge against a dragon, and the role player gets to negotiate a tricky treaty by matching the challenges and opportunities to the players. The DM creates this feeling of personal investment in the game.
The article doesn't stop there. It also says to keep checking in with the players as the campaign goes on, to see how they feel about the story. Questions like, which story arcs are you most invested in? Or, are there any unresolved plot points that intrigue you? Can help a lot. That way things don't get stale or predictable.
Those questions show how important it is to work together on the story. The story should change and adapt based on what the players do. Sometimes the best moments happen organically, like from something a player does that the DM could never have planned for. The players aren't just along for the ride. They're helping to shape the story with their decisions.
That reminds me of the session I talked about before, where that player's connection to the thief totally changed everything. It was like pure emergent storytelling, coming from the player's backstory and coming alive through role-playing. It was so cool to see happen.
That's what happens when you give players agency. It's not a linear set of events anymore. Every session can have surprises. When the DM uses player input, the campaign becomes a collaboration. It's not my story anymore, it's our story. This shared adventure.
The article also talks about the practical stuff, like pacing and balance, which can be tricky with different types of players. Some want non-stop action, and others like a slower pace with more role-playing and exploration.
The article has this really simple way to figure out if the pacing is working for everyone. Just ask, did today's session feel too fast, too slow, or just right? It seems obvious, but you can learn so much from it. Then you can adjust things as you go. Maybe the group is ready for a challenge, and you need to throw more encounters at them. Or maybe they need some breathing room for more character stuff and exploration. Checking in with the players regularly like that helps make sure everyone's happy with how the game is moving.
It's like finding the right tempo in a song. Sometimes you need that fast part, and sometimes you need that slow, mellow part. It's all about matching the mood.
And talking about harmony, the article also gets into how important it is to let players contribute to the world. You're not just placing things and people into a static setting. It's about making the world react to the players and what they do. Like, let's say a player mentions that their character is really into ancient myths.
Oh, that's perfect. The DM could use that. Work those myths into the campaign story. Maybe the player finds a hidden temple dedicated to those legends, or they meet someone who says they're related to one of those mythical heroes. It's like their interests directly shape the world.
Exactly. When you use player input like that, it feels like you're building the world together. It's not just the DM's world anymore. It's a space where everyone's ideas matter, and it makes the world feel so much more real and responsive.
The article also encourages DMs to really explore each character's personal story. Encourage the players to think about their character's inner conflicts and motivations, and even their weaknesses. Asking questions like, does your character have a secret they haven't told the party? Or what does your character fear losing the most? Those kinds of questions can lead to some really powerful role-playing moments and create drama that feels personal and meaningful.
Those questions get to the heart of what makes a character interesting. Their struggles, their desires, their fears. When players explore those things, you get much better character development, and the role-playing gets deeper. It's not just about fighting monsters and doing quests anymore. It's about facing inner demons, dealing with moral choices, and building real relationships with the other characters.
It's like the difference between watching a movie with boring characters and watching a movie where you feel like you really know the characters, you connect with them on an emotional level.
And those powerful moments, they usually come from choices that the players make, not from some pre-written plot. When there's trust and collaboration, the DM can give the players the power to drive the story. And that leads to all those cool twists and dramatic moments.
It all comes back to the idea that a D&D campaign should be a story that everyone tells together. It's not just the DM leading everyone down a path. It's a journey where everyone at the table contributes.
The article really stresses how important feedback is for that. Not just a survey at the end. It's about creating an environment where everyone feels good about sharing their thoughts and ideas, the good and the bad.
Maybe you could set aside time for feedback, like at the end of each session, or even a separate session, to just talk about what everyone thought.
When you do that, it makes sure everyone feels heard. And little problems don't turn into big problems later on. Everyone's invested in making the campaign great. And talking openly is how you do that.
The article has this great analogy for the DM in all this. They're like a jazz musician. Just like a jazz musician can improvise with the other musicians, a good DM can adapt to what the players do and weave their choices into the story.
It's finding that balance between having a structure and being able to improvise. The DM provides the framework, the basic melody, but the players can add their own touches, like their own solos. And when everyone is on the same page, feeding off each other's energy, that's when the real magic happens.
Wow, this has been amazing. I feel like I've learned so much about how to make my campaigns better.
Yeah.
And how to really get the players involved in the story.
It's not about sticking to some strict set of rules. It's about remembering why we love playing these games in the first place. It's about telling stories together and exploring these amazing worlds and connecting with each other through the power of imagination.
A huge thanks to LitRPG Reads and Amir Barakat for this fantastic article. If you're a DM or a player who wants to take your games to the next level, definitely check it out. You can find a link to it in the show notes.
It's full of practical advice and interesting questions that can help you turn your campaigns into truly immersive adventures.
Now, we want to hear from you, our listeners. What are some of your favorite ways to encourage player-driven stories and create those unforgettable D&D moments? Tell us all about it in the comments below.
Because in the end, the best campaigns are the ones we make together, taking all those individual stories and weaving them into a shared experience.
And that's it for this deep dive. Until next time, happy gaming, everyone.